Well, now to the UK, where two very senior members of the royal family have been named as racists in a book called Endgame, written by royal commentator Omid Scobie. Joining me now for the details, editor of Spite, contributor to the UK Spectator, Tom Slater. Tom, welcome. Now, as I understand it, the royals weren't supposed to be named. That's the line by the author. It certainly hasn't happened in the books that have been published in the UK. My colleague, Piers Morgan, has named them. I think it's an esoteric argument if I don't repeat what he said. The names are Charles, as in the King, and Catherine, as in the Princess of Wales. But how legitimate are these allegations? And Harry and Meghan, I mean, have they distanced themselves from Scobie, the author, or is he seen basically as their mouthpiece?
Well, yes. I mean, how legitimate are these allegations? I mean, you have to look at the source. I mean, Omid Scobie is a sort of celebrity journalist who suddenly became a royal correspondent, very much hitched his wagon to Harry and Meghan, and is quite widely seen as kind of Meghan's representative on earth, really. Meghan had to admit in court a couple of years ago, having previously said she had no contact with him, that she had actually briefed her aides to brief him for a previous book he wrote about the royal couple. He claims that he didn't want the royals to be named, and yet the reason this has come out is because the name suddenly appeared in the Dutch edition of the book. He puts it down to a translation error, but you can't translate names out of nowhere. So many questions have been raised about whether or not this is a publicity stunt. So there's the questions of where this is coming from, which is this particular journalist, and also ultimately potentially Meghan, the kind of Walter Mitty of Montecito. But also there's the question of what the allegations are themselves. We should remember this essentially comes down to what Meghan and Harry alleged was what they see as an unpleasant conversation where there was speculation about what skin colour their son might have. And it's the sort of thing that, as many people, including the great comedian Chris Rock, has pointed out, that's a conversation that even the all families of many different ethnicities might have in a mixed race family. So even if the allegations are true, it's the sort of thing, depending on the context, depending on how it was said, it does feel like it's only really serious if you're the sort of person who wants to willfully take offence to things. So what the problem is that as soon as you make the kind of allegations of racism is effectively being made here, those things do tend to stick. And I dare say that Scobie and any of his sources were well aware of that fact.
I have to underscore that point there. I'm a very tall family, and when people in my family have married shorter people, there's been a debate, are they going to get dad's height or mum's height? We know in a multicultural country like Australia, there's a wonderful sort of melting pot of genes that come out with family members. It's something you talk about. It's not a racist comment. It's an interested comment that family members make. I'm interested, though, where are Brits landing on this? I mean, are they on the side of the California whingers or on the side of working royals in London? What's the mood in Britain on this?
Well, I dare say it's sort of implied in your question there. Very much, I think people are seeing this as another painful edition of the Harry and Meghan circus. And you've only got to look at the polls. I mean, Prince William and the Princess of Wales, Catherine, they are consistently, essentially, among the two most popular royals in the country. Harry and Meghan are way down at the bottom. They're only beaten to the kind of sin bin spot by one Prince Andrew, which I think tells you something about how low their stock is with the public. So as I say, there is the danger that these kind of allegations stick in a slightly unpleasant way. But at the same time, it's quite clear that as far as whereas the British public are concerned, they're very much on the side of people who are just quietly getting on with the job rather than people who are carping from the sidelines.
Hey, just quick before we go, when I was there recently, those rallies, those pro-Palestinian, sort of pro-Hamas rallies were huge and the numbers were growing. How's that tracking now? Is it still a feature on the weekends?
They've become a weekly feature, unfortunately. The last time they came out, it was another carnival of Jew hatred. But what's been positive is that we did have this huge march against anti-Semitism last weekend. And I think the silent majority are beginning to find their voice in terms of condemning the Jew hatred they're seeing on their streets.
That is good to hear. I hope that happens here in Australia too. Tom Slater, thank you for your time.